50 years ago, the ambitious members of ABBA would never have dreamt that a stage show would revive their fortunes to such an extraordinary extent. Though some members of ABBA did make public appearances, they always said they'd never reform as a band.
You know, we've been offered $1 billion, and we refused it, so...
The old energy, the energy we had when we were young, 25, 30 years ago, is different from now. We want people to remember us as we were. We said that we may get together in a year or two, do something new, but I thought that that was the end of it.
Well, never say never. In 2017, as part of a new project, they found themselves back in their old studio again to record some new songs.
The first time we met in that studio, the four of us looked around. It was so familiar and yet so surreal. And the ladies stood in front of those microphones, face to face, as they always did. And then, that moment, they started to sing, and it was ABBA.
We had 2 songs. We enjoyed those. We thought they were really good, so we said, maybe we should do a couple of more. And we did. And then we said, maybe we should do a few more. So we have an album. And it was just wonderful. I think they thought so too, because they might have been a little hesitant whether they will be up for it, 40 years later. But they are. They were and they are, and it's bloody great.
The album, ABBA Voyage, went straight in at #1 all over the world in 2021. But will it be their final album?
I've said that's it. I don't want to do another ABBA album. But I mean, I'm not alone in this. There are 4 of us.
Yeah.
If they twist my arm, I might...
I agree with Benny. I think that was our goodbye.
Well, not quite. The following year, at a purpose-built arena, there was another ABBA Voyage. A revolutionary stage show so huge and expensive, it could only be housed in its own remarkable new space. They leased a large brownfield site in East London, where they could house the new show until 2026. It was to feature an ABBA concert, but one where the band members were represented by computerized avatars of their younger selves.
The 4 of us spent 5 weeks with the motion capture with dots and things and jumpsuits and helmets and dots in your face.
It was like doing Dancing Queen back in the 70s in some TV studio, but with 4 geriatrics.
And we look great in the body stocking.
ABBA were to be avatars, but there was a live band on stage too, and these musicians were coached by Benny Andersson to recreate as nearly as possible the familiar ABBA sound, blending with the voices of Agneta and Frida from their original recordings. For the backing vocalists, this was a particular challenge.
It did take quite a lot to kind of blend with the girls' voices. They're like stratospherically high vocalists, because they are like juggernauts in vocals. It's like a masterclass, basically, in pop.
ABBA Voyage was a much-anticipated event, and when the audience finally arrived at the new venue in May 2022, they found themselves in a radically designed interior and an auditorium with the capacity to house 3,000 people, some seated, some standing, on a huge dance floor. Enormous screens with computerized images created by George Lucas's Industrial Light and Magic, dozens of speakers, hundreds of lights. These all contributed to a total cost of a cool $175 million. And those lucky enough to attend the premiere were treated to a very rare sight indeed. All 4 members turning up in public together. This had hardly ever happened since the group split up 40 years earlier.
ABBA has never left us in our hearts. So it was not so difficult decision, because the music is a part of us.
It's amazing because in a way you look at yourself on stage, it's so well done. So you think actually it's real people standing up there performing, and then you're sitting there yourself, watching yourself, you know. It's a very extraordinary feeling. It's hard to describe, I must say.
After their curtain call, the members of ABBA could just go home, while their avatars performed to sell-out audiences every day. They could rest, but the songs just go on and on.
There's been more ABBA in the world the last 20 years than the first 20 years.
Yes. Somehow these songs have managed to stay relevant the past 40 years. There is a depth to the story about ABBA.
It's kind of weird, and I'm happy and grateful.
And now we're back to get more. You know what I mean.
50 years after ABBA began, over 40 years since they broke up, 25 years after Mamma Mia premiered, and now with a concert show that can last forever, ABBA wins not just gold and silver for their anniversaries. They are the winners that take it all.